This video will cover the restoration of my GL1100 in 2006 and the reboot I did in 2014. When I got this bike, it had been sitting outside under a bike cover for many years. It had wasps' nests around the engine and radiator, completely clogging the radiator fan. It had rust all over it. When pushing the bike around the house to the trailer waiting in the driveway, we discovered that the brake pads on both wheels had rusted themselves to the discs. The wheels wouldn't turn. We had to push an 800-pound bike around the house and into the driveway with both wheels stuck. After getting the bike home, I began disassembly and discovered it had just about every aftermarket accessory you can get installed on it. The turn signal grille and fairing grills were chromed plastic. The rest of the accessories were chromed steel. The disc brake covers, engine covers, radiator grills, and rear light bars were particularly heavy. I cleaned up all the rust, polished all the chrome, cleaned the tank and carbs, and removed all the accessories, putting only the horns and backrest back on the bike. So I basically put the bike back to the way it looked when it came off the showroom floor. I rode the bike from 2006 through the end of 2013 around Minnesota and Wisconsin and took a trip out to the Blue Ridge Mountains, riding through Ohio, West Virginia, and Virginia. With the weight reduction from the heavy steel accessories not being on the bike, it ran incredibly well. Then I decided I wanted to make some changes. My idea was to turn the bike into a cruiser since I did very little touring on the bike. I removed the fairing, removed the emblems from the bodywork, sanded, primed, and then painted the remaining body panels a navy blue. I had much of the chrome sandblasted and powder coated black. Then I made a single seat out of the Goldwing double seat by cutting it and making a custom pan. I made the trunk rack itself removable for a cleaner look when the trunk wasn't on the bike. I made a custom driving light bar. Most of the accessories that I removed from the bike were chromed steel. After removing the fairing, which included the radio, the bike was much lighter and downright zippy. Then I added pinstripes. I also removed the onboard air compressor since the shocks were progressive front and rear and the air was not needed. Here's the before and after pictures from the restoration to the reboot. Some friends and I took our bikes down to Galena, Illinois for some really nice riding. I rode the bike in this cruiser configuration for a few years when my uncle called and asked if I wanted to join him on a bike ride to Silverton, Colorado. A bike trip had been on my bucket list for a few years, so I sourced a windshield off Craigslist. We went on a 3,500-mile motorcycle trip that covered 8 states. From Minnesota, we rode through South Dakota, Nebraska, and Kansas to Colorado Springs, Colorado. We left Colorado Springs on some amazing roads to Pagosa Springs and then through Durango and up to Silverton, Colorado. Leaving Silverton was some, again, incredible mountain rides on the $1 Million Highway, and we rode up to Kemmerer, Wyoming. Leaving Kemmerer, we rode through Jackson, the Grand Tetons, and Yellowstone, all the way up to Red Lodge, Montana. If you have a motorcycle, you really need to ride these roads. They are that beautiful. Leaving at a Red Lodge, we rode Chief Joseph Highway and Beartooth to Cody, Wyoming. Then we took alternate 14 out of Cody to Buffalo. From Buffalo, we rode to Spearfish. From Spearfish, we rode across South Dakota to the Badlands and then on to Marshall, Minnesota. The windshield didn't do nearly as good a job as the stock Honda one would have, and the bike was a little anemic at the high altitudes, but it did great, and I would definitely do the trip again on the bike without hesitation. The final ride was from Marshall, Minnesota back home to Andover. Thanks for watching the video of my GL1100 restoration and reboot, and if you enjoyed it, think about subscribing so you can catch more of my bike restoration videos.